Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Randy Kaye, and I am the host of the Caught Up podcast. Today we have Allie Skaggs from the University of Arizona. Allie was nationally ranked as the number 13th recruit by Extra Innings and number 89 by Flow Softball. She was a two-time Max Preps All-American at Ballard High School in Louisville, Kentucky, and the 2019 Kentucky Gatorade Player of the Year. Allie, being born in Tucson, and once signing with the U of A, asked her parents to move back to Tucson in the spring of 2020, where she played at Ironwood Ridge High School in Oro Valley, Arizona. After getting some opportunities during her freshman year in college, Allie parlayed that into starting every game at second base her sophomore and junior seasons. In 2023, she was a Rawlings Gold Glove winner and earned Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year honors. At different points in her career, she has led the Pac-12 in home runs and RBI. The senior journalism and broadcast major was back in her hometown this week in Louisville, Kentucky, at the U of L's Ulmer Stadium. The stadium where Allie recalls having her very first hitting lesson and many high school memories. She was excited to get to play there once again, but this time as a collegiate athlete. I had a great time chatting with Allie. She was a pro, and she definitely carried this conversation. Really quick, before we get started, I want to ask that you please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I want to thank you in advance for your support. I hope you enjoy this insight, as it was my pleasure to get caught up with Allie Skaggs. Allie, thanks for jumping on. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're on the road, busy schedule. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, like you said, we're on the road. We were just at the University of Alabama last week, and now we're back in Louisville, my hometown where I grew up. And now after that, we're going to Oregon State. So a little bit of a road trip, but we're excited.
Cool. You said Louisville. I had a friend a long time ago that played baseball there. And I remember telling him, I asked him about Louisville, and he said, dude, it's called Louisville. And so I learned that a long time ago. I thought that was kind of interesting. And I was wondering how you were going to say that. So that's
Yeah.
cool. And you mentioned you're coming off a couple of games against Alabama. What a great series. I mean, obviously, you guys want to come out on top, every time you step on the field. But I thought those were, very close, competitive games against, a top 10 team.
Oh yeah, that's all you can ask for. I feel like, especially this early in the season, the more experience that our girls can get playing the top competition in the country, that's the only way that you're going to get better. So, we love our 10-0 games, but at the same time, are we getting that much better in those situations? So we put ourselves in a tough situation where we're playing a tough lineup, top to bottom. We got to see how our pitching worked against a great lineup, which was awesome. And now we continue to see the higher level pitching and see if our team can make some adjustments so that we can start scoring a bunch of runs and backing our pitchers up a little bit more too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said it. A 10-0 win is always great. You get to get done early and go home, or get on to the next game. But did you really get any better? I guess is the big question. And really interesting because you get to battle test your pitching, and I think obviously that's shown up really well. But yeah, that's cool. And so again, in Louisville, your hometown where you're from, that's pretty. What were the chances that you thought that you might get to ever play in that stadium as a Wildcat?
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be able to be honest with you. If anything, I was just like, oh, maybe someday I'll end up there at a regional or something. I don't know. But the chances of it just being a scheduled game, I felt were slim. The U of A, I don't think ever really comes out to Kentucky very much. So I do remember last year, though, that's our head coach, Caitlin Lowe, came up to me and said, hey, so did you grow up closer to U of L or UK, Louisville or University of Kentucky? And I was like, well, I grew up like 20, 25 minutes from the U of L campus, but honestly, UK, like, they're a really good program too. And so she was like, okay, well, I'm going to try and see if we can schedule a game there next year. And then I was like, wait, are you kidding? That's the coolest thing ever. And so
Yeah.
as the ball kind of got rolling, they actually ended up making it work. And so she came up to me and said, hey, it's on the schedule. Like, it's for March of next year. And so I started reaching out to my buddies a year ago. And now we're in Louisville, and we get to play today in front of all those people and at Ulmer Stadium, which is where I used to play like my high school regional softball games at. And I played there for my middle school games sometimes. So getting to play back on that field again is going to be surreal.
So you're familiar with the facilities, obviously.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And when you talk about reaching out to your buddies, obviously you have a lot of high school friends, and I'm sure friends growing up in general. But do you have family in Kentucky? Is that right?
No, we don't have any family out there. So when
No
we
family.
moved to Kentucky from Tucson, yeah, it was just the four of us, my mom, dad, brother, and I. So we were the lone ones out there in Kentucky.
Ah, okay, yeah, and I remember that when you moved back, that I knew you had family in Tucson or in
Hmm.
Arizona, and so yeah, I did know that. Okay,
Yeah.
um, so you got some games lined up. What's that look like then today? What are you? y- I know there was a game against Miami of Ohio.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Yeah, we
then
were supposed to play them today, but
oh,
we're playing U of L today instead.
oh, cool. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you grew up close to the campus. What were there ever thoughts of going to school there?
Yeah, to be honest, I honestly never really looked at the U of L. I never was really in deep contact with their coaching staff, despite
Mm-hmm.
them being right down the road. Um, if anything, I think I was more in contact with the University of Kentucky. I was quite interested in them, in potentially staying in the state and going to go play. But as soon as the U of A offered me, I said, "Yep, that's what I want to do. That's where I want to go." So um, as much as I feel like people think I could have gone to the U of L, I never really looked into it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. Did you attend any camps or anything like that? Or did was there was no interest, no, just kind of checking it out, nothing?
Yeah, I mean, I had gone to a couple different things like at the U of L stadium. So, like, my first ever hitting lesson as a 10-year-old was actually in the same hitting cages that they have right now on their third baseline, which is cool. So, we got to go
Yeah.
hit there yesterday for BP. And I was telling the girls, I was like, this is where I was 10 years old in this cage right here with my first ever hitting lesson. Like, it's the coolest thing ever. And I'd go to like a couple of clinics and stuff, but never as like an active recruit or anything. It's when I was younger. So I would go from like age 10 to like 13 or 14 maybe, but I never went as an active older high school kid.
Okay. It wasn't part of your recruiting journey.
No, I think once I got kind of looking outside of the Louisville area, that's when I didn't really look into it as much. I was interested in schools outside of the state.
Do you still remember who gave you that first hitting lesson?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Her name is Lisa Pinkston, and she was a coach for a little bit at the U of L, but she coached at one of the rival high schools that I went to, or one of my rival high schools, I guess. And she's now the athletic director, I believe, at that high school, Assumption High School in Louisville is where it's at. But shout out to Lisa because she was my first ever hitting coach, and she was amazing. And she's still in my corner to this day. I text her and we check in, so I'm gonna give her a little shout.
That is awesome. That's awesome. And there's so many people that help us along the way. I can think of so many, um, players and other parents that got me involved in this whole thing. And someday I'll tell that story. But yeah, it's quite the journey.
Hmm.
So when you think about um, your journey in the sport of softball, what actually got you going? Was it your first love? Were there other sports that you played? Like how did you get going and involved with the game?
Yeah, my parents actually put me in like a little league when I was really young. I have some pictures that I'm sure I could share with you. But I was itty bitty playing little league and like coach pitch. I never played t-ball, but I did play coach pitch. And I think from then on, I honestly think I loved it. I don't know. I don't think I would be here if I didn't love it when I was 5 years old. So
Yeah.
I started with coach pitch and then ended up playing machine pitch as a 10-year-old here in Louisville and absolutely fell in love with it. I loved it. Started playing like travel ball when I was
Mm.
10 or 11 and I loved it. And then I started making all my friends. And I think that that's what really like kept me in it. I was playing with 9 of my other best friends every single weekend when I was 10 years old. Like nothing could beat that. And then like kind of as I just kept growing too, like I started to take it more seriously, obviously. And once I got to like 8th grade or so, that's when I really started like looking into, okay, can I start playing a little more like serious club ball and start to really hone in my skills because this is something that I want to get good at. So I started playing more seriously around age 14. And then from then on, I never stopped working and I still have
Yeah.
never stopped working. So I knew it was something that I could get really good at. And so I just decided, okay, let's just figure out a way to make that happen.
And what was that? How did you, like, when you did decide and you said, okay, I'm sure you sat down with your parents and they could see the love in the game that you had. Um, what was that decision? Like, okay, we got to find another team, or do we? I mean, what was that journey like?
Yeah, a lot of it was, well, the one thing that I appreciate that my parents did that I recommend any parent doing for their kid is saying, hey, if you want it, you have to come to us for it. And my parents never ever like forced me to go to a hitting lesson. They never forced me to go to practice. They never forced me to do anything. It was all, hey, Allie, if you want to get better at this and if you want to do this, you need to be the one that's coming to us and saying, hey, I want to go take ground balls tonight. Like, let's go. We're never going to force you to do anything. It's your journey is what you're going to make it. And so I really appreciated that because I feel like that gave me more of a chance to make it my own journey. Like I didn't feel like anyone was telling me that I had to do it. My own like willpower got me to do it. So um, from an actual like specific standpoint, I feel like a new team was what I first did. So I played on like a more regional club travel team, and we didn't travel extremely far and weren't playing in too big of tournaments. And I wanted to get like a little more exposure, and I was always told like, hey, if you want to get better, you need to be playing against the best or playing against better. And so I ended up joining the Southern Force at for 14U, which is the where Coach Josh Bloomer, who's now back at U of A with me, he was
Mm-hmm.
coaching that team, and I ended up making that 14U team. And from then on, Bloomer and I kind of stuck together, and we kept like going up in the ranks with the club teams that we were representing. And I wouldn't trade it honestly. I'm glad that I took that journey, and I finally started playing club ball that like really pushed me to my limit of like how good can you actually get and how good are you compared to the best players in the country at your age, or even girls older. Like I always played on older teams too. I was 16 playing with 18-year-olds, and so I was always playing around like the higher level of softball from freshman year on.
The highly motivated players and the self-motivated players generally want more and want to be challenged. And I've always, when I met you, I kind of saw that too. But where was going back to Southern Force? Where was that team located out of?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I feel like all of the club teams that I played on for Bloomer, they were all girls were based like out of everywhere. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like a set. I mean, technically we were out of Kentucky, I guess, but we had girls from Indiana, a lot of girls from Louisville, but a lot of girls from like other parts of Kentucky. Like it wasn't like a central, everyone's from Louisville, like everyone's within a certain distance of each other. So we had girls from kind of everywhere coming in. And that just
Yeah.
even amplified once we turned into the Sluggers and then turned into the Tennessee Fury. We had girls from several different states kind of just meeting together to play on weekends. And that's kind of how we were able to compete.
So you connected with Coach Bloom, and like you said, you guys just kind of rose up through the ranks, and you said with Southern Force, and then was it Fury Platinum? Was that where you went next?
We were the Louisville Sluggers next, and then we went to Fury Platinum.
Okay, so you were a slugger.
Yep.
Okay,
I
I
was
was
a
wondering
slugger.
that.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Um, Coach Hacker, right, Jim? Was he
I was
running the
playing, no, I was
program?
with Bloomer at that time. Bloomer was
Yeah.
the slugger coach. So every time that we changed a team, Bloomer just became the head coach basically. So I just kind of stuck with
Yeah.
him. We just
Yeah.
ended up, we changed organizations along the way, but it was Bloomer and I pretty much the whole way. And kind of like for the most part, we had a core group of girls that also grew up with him, but I boast
Sure.
that I'm the only one that made it from 14U to 18U or whatever with him. So I made it. I
Yeah.
somehow survived it.
14 to senior year in
Uh
college.
huh.
It seems
Yeah,
like that's awesome.
pretty much. Yep.
And so you guys obviously traveled into the whole circuit. I'm really interested in when you talk about Bloomer and your relationship with him. One of the things I remember is that I went. I think it was probably 2019 or 2020. I got introduced to blast motion,
Oh
and
yeah. Hmm.
so I went down, to San Diego and met with them. And organizationally, I had about 22 or 23 teams back then with my previous org. And I bought in hook, line, and sinker. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was great for the time we were in, as far as I think it might have been a little bit of COVID at that point too, if I
Hmm.
remember right. I'm not sure, but uh, and then I get this video, and I think you had already come down. I think you had already come down because, and I'll backtrack a little bit. So I get a call from your dad, Jim, one day,
Yeah.
and he says, "Hey, we're moving to Kentucky, or we're moving to Tucson, and we
Hmm.
want to come and play. We're looking, we'll be moving in the spring, and we might be looking for a team." So you were coming out already, and then I turn on
Yep.
this video, and you're in it with Coach Bloomer.
Yeah.
How did that come out? It was really weird how all that came together. But back to my original point, what really interests me is one of the things I recognized from you when I got to meet you and see you play was you seem to really understand your swing. Was that
Yeah.
was that? Do you attribute that to your training with Coach Bloomer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's such a big part in teaching me kind of just to understand basically like how my body moves. Like he was really really good at teaching me how to control my body, which is something that I feel like even when I work with girls now, like if I'm giving lessons, like if they're younger, I'm like they just need to like as soon as they can learn how to control their body, they're going to be fine. Like sometimes you get like an awkward 12-year-old that can swing it decent, but I'm like she just looks a little awkward. Like once she kind of like just like matures a little bit and like understands what she's trying to do, like she'll be totally fine. Like she'll be more fluid, like she'll have a feel for like how to get to different pitches and stuff like that. But no, I credit a lot of it to him. He every single day that I'd hit with him, like it was okay. How good can we get at hitting, and how good can we get at hitting the ball far and in the air? And I think it was how can we do that on every single pitch, whether it's a strike or whether it's a ball that's 2 inches off, up, in or out, whatever it is. Um, yeah, he really he taught me like I mean I just learned a ton about how to control what I was doing, and so now I have like a good feel for when I'm at my best of like what do I need to be feeling or what do I need to be doing to be feeling like I'm ready to fire at any pitch that's around the zone, because I feel like that's what I do best. I do my best when I'm aggressive and swinging at pitches that I know that I can hit. So yeah, I credit a lot. That's our sessions were fun. It was okay, let's just get you as good as we can with whatever pitching I throw at you. So let's get you good at hitting changeups. Let's get you good at hitting rise balls. Let's get you good at hitting pretty much anything so that pitchers struggle to throw to you pretty much.
Yeah. And I remember too, I think it was the fall of 2019 when you were coming in and playing
Hmm.
with us a little bit. I remember what I do remember about you is you were obviously a tremendous athlete, but you were a tough out. Like you just
Yeah.
hit. Like you always just hit. And I remember that. And then you fast forward to the point where I see you in those videos, and then I watch you make those body movements, and it just seemed like you really understood it. And so that to me is that's cool because I do lessons. Obviously, I've been coaching for a while, and I have kids, and I'm just like same thing you just said. I mean it verbatim. Like if we could just control this move, if we could just get into
Hmm.
this position and be able to go when we're ready. And I think there's so many other things that people focus on, um, but I mean, the little things matter.
Oh yeah. And I feel like too the one of the more important parts that I attribute to what I learned is like, what's your end goal? And my end goal with Bloomer was always hit it hard and hit it in the air. So everything around my training was how can I hit every single pitch hard and in the air somewhere? And then that's where I learned like how to control my body. So I understood like on a low and in pitch, like where do I need to hit it in order to get it in the air? Or where do I need to
Mm-hmm.
hit it in order to hit it hard? Like, or change ups, how can I ride them out and still power them somewhere? Um, my end goal was I was never just a like let's make contact and hope for the best hitter. I'm selling out, and I believe that I can get this, I can get any single ball like over the plate somewhere good. So I think
Yeah.
like that's what I've like tried to start focusing on again, is just like any ball that you can, if you see it, like hit it where you know that you can hit it where your body naturally is telling you to go. So um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my focus right now is just get the ball in the air, like hit it hard, like don't be late, don't pop it up, like like get the barrel
Yeah.
on and get your barrel out and hit the ball far somewhere.
Yeah. Off the wall or over the wall, right?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, that's good stuff. Do you think that your training, do you feel like you were prepared when you got to college just because you
Yeah,
understood your swing so much?
absolutely. I don't think I gave myself enough credit for how good I was coming in. I think I always saw that like in the ring, like especially being from Kentucky too, I didn't understand like that I was at a similar level as the kids from California and Arizona. Like I just never really gave myself the credit of that, of how elite I was compared to them already. Like especially for my age and coming in as a freshman, like I didn't give myself the credit. And so um, I think I wish I would have been like had a little more grace for myself like throughout high school, and just being like, hey, you are good. Like I know you were eighth or seventh in your class to commit, but you are going to be elite by the time that you're done at the U of A. And so I think like it was just cool to come in as a freshman and to like really actually see the skills be put into play with 22-year-old women who have been there for 4 years, and some of them even in their fifth year, especially with COVID bringing back our seniors. So um,
Yeah.
no, it was cool to actually put my skills next to girls who were the elite of the elite as well, and see that I really, really wasn't far off, especially as a 17, 18-year-old.
Yeah, especially coming in, to a Hall of Fame coach and
Mm-hmm.
a big time program. I mean, I was wondering that, like, did you feel prepared? And you said you did, but you said something about um, you finally realized that you were good, or you wish you would have given yourself more grace. Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
when that happened? When was that you said, "Hey, wait a minute, like I can play here. I'm good. I understand what I'm doing, and I'm gonna go, you know, I'm gonna go be me."
Yeah, I think a lot of it honestly was like through the fall of my freshman year. Like it was tough because that was when COVID was in its heat, so we didn't really get to do like a ton of team stuff together. But um, when we did and we practiced together, I think the biggest thing that kind of struck it for me was getting to play behind Reina Karanka, who is our All American second baseman in front of me. Um, and
Yeah.
every single day at practice, I was taking ground balls with her like every single day, and I was like, oh, like I'm keeping up with Raina. Even like she had a little bit more savvy than me. She was a little more smooth, and but like you could just tell she was a 22-year-old who had been playing college ball for the last 4 or 5 years. So I was like, okay. But even then, I was like, all right, I'm hanging in there with her. Like I can. My goal was after my freshman year, I knew that I wasn't going to play over Raina. Like with her being a fifth year, like senior, I was like, she has earned this. Like she is phenomenal. Like my goal was be ready to play next year. Like this is my spot to take, and it's my spot to lose, basically. So I trained my entire freshman year being fully prepared to be the starting second baseman for the U of A for the rest of my career after Raina left. So um, I think me just practicing as if I was going to be the starter was the biggest thing. And that's one thing that I know that Coach Candrea, I think, appreciated about me being behind her. It was that Reina, unfortunately, even my freshman year, went down with an injury. But I know that Coach immediately was like, okay, Skaggs is ready. Like she's been taking the reps, like she was prepared. So let's give her the opportunities. And I stepped in and I held my own there for a little bit as a freshman. So I think just building that trust with my coaching staff and showing them that I'm prepared, I'm ready to go in, and I'm ready to be your starting kid, pretty much. I think just playing with that competition and showing that every single day, day in, day out, with ground balls, with the weight room, with hitting BP, with hitting live pitching, I think I was just able to recognize like the day in and day out of, okay, I'm really not that different than the girls that are fifth year seniors ahead of me. And so I think that gave me the confidence to know that I was going to be fine down the road. I was like, okay, I'm going to be good. Like, we'll be fine. I'll be able to have a career that I want to have here. It's just a matter of now I just have to go do it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty clear that, I mean, for any coach, hard work stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what you're telling me, that hard work in practice, taking ground balls with intensity and in game speed and game intensity matters. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
tell our kids all the time, like, this is where you're going to get it done. If you don't get it done in the cage or on the field in practice time with that intensity, it doesn't translate. At least it
Exactly.
doesn't as often as you would like it.
Yeah.
So no, that's awesome. And then
Mm-hmm.
having that confidence, Coach Candrea having that confidence in you
Mm-hmm.
and putting you over there at second base as a freshman. Uh, I mean, I see you're listed as a utility, but it looks like your goal of being the second baseman for the last 3 years is taking shape, right?
Yeah, yeah. I do pride myself on being able to play anywhere. Honestly, I think if they needed me to go play in the outfield, I think I would be fine. And if they needed me
Yeah,
to go play third, I'd be fine. The only one that you will not catch me playing is pitcher and catcher. I will not put the gear on. No way. I have so much respect for the guys back there. It's terrifying to me. But anywhere in the infield and then in the outfield too, I always, that's one thing that I remember being taught from a young age is like, if a coach asks you what position you play, tell them you play all of them. Because if you tell them that
absolutely.
you're limited to one, then they're not, that just, it almost like crosses you off the list if they're not looking for that position. So if you tell them, hey, I play only second base, but they need a shortstop, you just took yourself out of the running for that entire team. So I was always like, yeah, I play utility wherever you need me, I'll go. As long as I have a place on the field, I'm feeling pretty good about it. But I'm fortunate and lucky that I've been able to kind of hold down the second base position and like get kind of consistent and used to it. Like I'm super comfortable over there now. I grew up playing shortstop, but now that I've played second for the last couple of years, I love it over there. And it's weird to me going back to the left side of the field. But yeah,
Yeah.
I love second and I'm glad I've been able to kind of like hold it down and have that be a little bit of my home.
Coach Amy Hogue told me one time that she feels like a second baseman has so much responsibility, and the
Yeah.
way she teaches it. I remember having this conversation with her about one of our kids, and she's like, "We've been working at it, and I'm just not ready to put her there because in my opinion, it's one of the most important positions on the field."
Well, that's what I totally agree. I think I never gave second baseman the credit that they deserve until I became one. Like as a shortstop, I was like, shortstop's definitely the hardest position. And then when I got to the U of A and learned that second base has extreme amounts of responsibility, I was like, okay, this is so much more difficult. Like at least for myself, even just like bunt coverage and when there's a slapper up, who's covering first, who's covering second, like
Yep.
you got this cut off and you got all of it, like just the craziness of all the different things that you need. Your head is spinning all the time playing second base. And I always thought, I was like, oh, they're fine over there. They just go cover one on the bunt. And then I got to college and I was like, oh, it's different if you have a slapper and speed on first versus a slapper and no speed on first. Okay, this is
Yep.
confusing. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I love it now and I have so much more respect for second base. And I'm like, guys, this is tough work. You're doing great.
Yeah. Um, how was that? Obviously, you played for Coach Candrea for a year. And then you get Coach Lowe, who has already been with the program, and I'm sure had a relationship with her. How has that transition been? Because I think from the outside, we've all been watching, and my gosh, those are obviously big shoes to fill. But I think she's doing a great job. Like, I mean, it seems like you guys are playing well and headed in the right direction. And obviously coming off of last year, what has that journey been like? And where do you see it ending up this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you just said, it's huge shoes to fill. Like Coach Candrea is the goat of college softball. Like that day in and day out. I feel like when people think of head coaching for college softball, it's him. Um, and so when he left, I think all of us were like, okay, like how's it gonna go? I think the thing that is like super helpful for Kate and just for all of us is that we had like a really steady base of girls that when the turnover happened, we were able to kind of turn over as like a team too. And we were like, okay, what identity do we want to have now as a team? Like now that coach is gone, like the 5th year seniors who had been with him were gone. So it's almost like we were starting over and Kate was starting over too. So it was all about like, who do we want to be now? Like obviously like we want to carry on the tradition and do a lot of the stuff that the team with Coach Candrea did. But at the same time, we were like, what can we do that can make us better? And so I think it like the girls, we kind of just took on a new identity as a team. And I feel like last year was the most fun I've ever had playing softball with a group of girls. Like we absolutely loved it. And I think we have a really good core group of girls that just, we ride together and we compete. I feel like that, but that all comes in the recruiting classes, I feel like. So you bring in the kids who you know are going to be a good part of the culture. And then that helps the rebuild, honestly. So I know that we've gotten some quite a few good classes coming in, and classes that have already been a part of our team too, that are just continuing on like the legacy of U of A softball and just competing. Like our team's just gritty right now, and we just want to win. We have all aspects of our team are firing right now. And it's all about, it's the girls. The girls are pulling together and we're like, all right, we know we're talented. We can go win games. Let's just go win games. Let's find a way to make it happen.
I love that. So you guys just all turned the page as a group and as a team, and rallied around the whole program, not just your coach, but yourselves and your teammates. It sounds like you guys get along. I mean, as a group, as a team. I mean,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
um, what since you have played for men your whole career, what was the difference? I mean, obviously, Coach Lowe played there, but I mean, what were some differences that maybe you could point out, or that you enjoy, or that are
Yeah,
different?
I think the biggest thing for us is that, especially last year, like we had a staff of 3 women that had all played college softball, which is like the coolest thing ever. And you had to play for Coach Lowe and then Coach Lauren Lappin and Coach Taryn Mowat. And so we were playing
Yeah,
for 3 high level elite collegiate former athletes. So it was really cool for us to like, it's fun to play for someone who's been in your shoes. And so I think like
yeah,
it's kind of what I'm honestly excited about too. Like post college, like if I get into coaching, like I'm excited to bring like my own viewpoint to my players too, and say like, hey, I did this. I understand your pain. Like I know what you guys are going through. Like I understand slumps. I understand like errors. Like I understand all of it, and I feel like playing for people that have done it themselves. It gives a little more grace in the sense of like failure, success, all of the above. Like they understand the exact process too because they did it. Um, I feel like the biggest difference, probably, even like playing for Bloomer, just the animation with him. Like he was always a very animated, like, I'm gonna call time and come rip you a new one real quick and then
yeah,
leave. I feel like with our staff now, like we don't, there's not as much like I'm gonna yell at you right now and then you're gonna need to go figure it out. It's more of like it's more of an understanding of like, hey, we need to be better. Basically, like this is
yeah.
unacceptable and figure it out. And then I don't know, but it's nice. Like Blimmer's chilled out since I played for him. But even then, like it's still like it's almost just like a different type of intensity of I'm gonna come like get face to face with you and I'm gonna sit you because you made an error 2 times in a row that inning. And I still won't forget when I was like 14, he did that to me, and it shaped who I am right now. And but yeah, it's honestly the standards are so similar. It's just like they expect us to be great and they expect us to do well and perform and show up. Basically, they know we're not going to go 5 for 5 every game or 15 for 15 every weekend, but they expect us to give our best effort every single time and to just get better as the day and as the game goes on. So it's just the high standard of you guys are already very good. So like let's go continue to show that on the field.
Yeah, let's go put it together.
Yep.
Stay in the moment and put it together, consistently
Hmm.
as possible. It's funny because I think the animation part for male coaches, for a lot of coaches, but I think the coaching styles have changed as well. I mean, even I hear players that played for me or played for other coaches say, "Oh, that guy, he's soft now," or "You've gotten soft, coach."
Yeah.
I think the times have changed a little bit, and
Hmm.
the one thing that I have learned over the years is that it's not do it because I say or because I've learned that female players really just want to know why, and for my practices especially, like I try to make a plan because
Hmm.
like they want to know what the plan is, like what's the deal.
Oh yeah.
So I think things have changed a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, we're the same way. That's all we want. Like, as I think just athletes in general, we just want communication. Like, let us know exactly what the plan is. Let us know why we're doing it, and then we'll follow everything. So it's the more that I feel like coaches can communicate and like give a clear reasoning as to like this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, then that's how you get a team to like fully buy into you and buy into your information. Is you don't have to, the less, like, it's like you said, the less do it because I say, the better, because players want to rally behind someone that shows that they know why they're doing something. So versus just do it and hope it works. I think,
Right.
yeah, like, I rally behind anyone that gives me a like, hey, we're doing this and this is because of it. Like, and then if I feel like I agree with that, then I go along with it. But then I also appreciate if there's a time where like I'm confused, or if I have like either like a disagreement or a, okay, how can we make this better? Like, I appreciate when I can go in and have a conversation about, hey, how can we make this better? Or like, why are we doing this? Like, if I can just have
Yeah.
conversations with any of my coaches in my history of playing softball, those are the relationships that I have the best and the people that I perform the best under.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just said it best. Open communication is key,
Hmm.
if you want those relationships for
Yep.
sure. Okay. I'm also super interested. So how did that go? Obviously, you had a great high school run in Kentucky. Then you guys moved to Arizona, to Tucson. What was that like for your family? I mean, what how did that go? What did you know? Tell me that story.
Yeah. So I was born in Tucson and then moved to Louisville because of my dad's job. So he worked with GE Appliances and their headquarters are in Louisville. So we were in Louisville for an age itty bitty me to 17. So um, that's technically where I call it like that's home for me. Like, it's where I grew up. It's basically, it's what built me. But all of my family, like a bunch of my family's in Tucson. So from growing up too. So majority of my family's in Arizona, and there's a few that are outliers here and there, but even then we would spend all of our holidays and stuff with the whole family in Tucson. So um, my parents were always going to move back at some point. I already know it. It was just a matter of where I ended up going to play, pretty much. So if I would have stayed and played for like the University of Kentucky, my parents would have stayed in the Louisville house and then moved back to Tucson when I was done playing softball. So it was just a matter of kind of where I was and where my brother was, and I ended up committing as a sophomore in high school. And so we kind of, it was nice because my parents actually made let the decision kind of be up to me. I remember my junior year of high school, like in January, I finally just had like kind of a flip switch and was like, I want to be in Tucson next year. Like, I want to be around the U of A. I want to watch their softball team the whole year. Like, I want to just kind of get acclimated before I actually have to just immediately go in and have like the big culture shock of you're moving across the country. So I decided in January, and my parents were like, "All right, well, if you're ready to go, like, we're ready to go too." We didn't have like a family connection keeping us in Kentucky, so um, I was kind of excited. I'm fortunate that they kind of let me make that decision, because they 100% would have let me do my senior year in Louisville if I wanted to. But I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm kind of ready. I'm excited. I want to be around the U of A, and I want to become a Wildcat before I even need to become one as a freshman. So we moved back after my junior year of high school, and I did my senior year in Tucson, which unfortunately got cut short because of COVID. But I was also very glad that we moved before COVID happened, so we didn't have to kind of deal with that summer.
Right, right. How was Kentucky with? Do you have any idea how they were with COVID, or because we were
I'm
pretty lax here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like they were like semi loose about stuff, but I don't remember talking much to all of my buddies. I think everyone was kind of in the same boat of being stuck inside and trying to stay healthy.
Yeah. So you moved to Tucson and then you attend Ironwood Ridge,
Hmm.
and obviously that season was cut short.
Yep.
You were on a pretty good run there. I mean, I know the year before they won the state title.
Yep.
That was a good team. That was a good team. You guys are going to be solid.
Oh yeah, it was funny
So,
because Devin Netz and I, who is one of my U of A teammates, we both transferred into the U of A at the same, or not U of A, sorry, Ironwood Ridge at the same time. So Ironwood got two U of A incoming
oh
freshmen
man.
on their team after winning state the year before. So her and I thought that was funny that we were like, we're just reloading them, and they're like, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Um, so the team was fun. We had quite a few seniors who were all going to go play in college somewhere, and so yeah, it would have been fun to see how good that team actually was. But yeah, it was a good time.
What so did you spend time like getting to obviously you had teammates at Ironwood Ridge, but did you start to get to know any of the current players or the players that were there or that were going to go in? Was there anybody meeting up or just trying to get yourself acclimated with the program?
It was pretty much honestly, it was all the like the incoming freshmen, like we were trying to get connected. It was less
Yeah.
of the current team when we were in high school still. Um, I mean, there were like a few girls that I think I had been in, like I knew like Jessie Harper and I knew Alyssa
Hmm.
Palomino. Like I knew of the girls, but it honestly, like Devin and I, like we were the two that were going to be coming in. Her and I got super, super close before. Um, and then we were just in contact, like the Carroll twins, Eris and Soph. And
Yep.
so, like, I
Yep.
got really close. We were really close. And so I think we had more of a bond as an incoming class. And then that made it kind of easier to get acclimated once we got in with the team that was already there.
How cool is it playing in front of your family?
It's amazing. Yeah, it's the coolest thing ever. I'm super, super fortunate. Like after every game, I see at least four of my family members, and I know that that's not the same case for all the girls. And my parents come to everything. My parents have actually been on this entire road trip. They went to Alabama. They're here now, and they're going to be going to Oregon State. So I always have my parents there, which is amazing. My grandma is there every single game. But even then, I swear every home game, there's like three new random people that are either family friends, family, or like high school buddies or anything that just show up, and I'm like, oh, great! Like I didn't know you were coming. That's awesome. So yeah, it's unreal. Like I'm so thankful that I get to play in front of them. That's a big part of the reason, honestly, why I came to the U of A. If anything, it was my biggest reason is I wanted to go play in front of my family. I had a great grandmother the past couple of years that was 95 and able to come to my games at some points, which was the coolest thing. And I had grandpas, I have my grandmas coming, I have aunts, uncles, like I have all of the above, and they all get to come watch me play, which I'm very lucky.
So you've always got support. That's big.
Hmm.
Especially when you talk about the grind of getting into college for a student athlete.
Hmm.
Could you imagine being anywhere where maybe there was a weekend where you had no family, you had nobody to go home and work through a situation with?
Yeah, I would be very tough. I rely on my family so heavily for that stuff. Like after every home game, they give me a ride back to the condo where I live, and I get that 20-minute period to debrief with them and either let out my excitements or frustrations. And like I always have a sounding board, which is great. If I didn't have them physically there, I would be calling them all the time. So I would be
Yeah.
in contact for sure. But I'm fortunate that I get the hug after the game. Like I get to actually like see them in like face to face. Like they get to see my true raw emotion directly after a game, which I wouldn't trade for anything. Like I'm so thankful. I'm so lucky that my parents are able to be there all the time and they get to see the entire body of work, which they've seen my whole life. Like if anyone's seen me play the most, it's them.
Yeah. Yeah, the hug and the physical
Hmm.
conversation, you can't duplicate that over,
Yep.
a FaceTime call. So, no, totally. Um what um when it comes to like players that don't have what you have, because you have your family there, You
Hmm.
have your support system there. Um, and I want to talk a little bit about the mental side of this, the mental health side. I did a call with Derek Allister last week, and he told me that college coaches. Well, I asked him if he would change anything, and he said he would like to see us take breaks as travel
Hmm.
ball teams. And his words were to me that college coaches have expressed to him that kids are coming in broken.
Hmm.
Um, what does that mean to you? And have you seen that or experienced that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's there's always so much more that goes on behind closed doors than anyone ever sees, and I feel like that's part of like one of my dad's favorite quotes is about being in the arena, and like it's always about the person that's actually doing the work. It's not about the people who can talk and see in and like are thinking that they understand what you're going through. Oh, all of us go through it. I wish more people gave that credit, because like I don't think that people understand how much pressure is put on these young athletes to perform. And even like I'll be vulnerable. Like I am a fourth year senior that has been an All American and a Gold Glove winner, and I still like deal with a ton of pressure put on myself now that I'm like, okay, I need to perform as a senior. Like this needs to happen, and I'm trying to get that out of my head of like it's fine. Anyone that comes and watches me play, like they're just happy to see me play. Like they do not care how I do, and it's keeping that in perspective of like this isn't the end all be all of my life how I perform over the next 3 months. It's just like I get to do this for only a finite amount of time, so I'm gonna enjoy it. Like I want to, even like playing in Louisville today. And like I get to play in front of friends and family right now, and it's gonna be amazing regardless of the outcome of the game. Like I still after the game, I'm gonna see people who are gonna be like, "What happened in your first at bat?" I don't know, but I'm just happy to see you. So I think it's like keeping that in perspective of how much weight the game actually carries over us, and so um, the pressure's unreal. Like especially at like the highest D1 level, like you have it feels like all eyes are on you to perform and like carry your team to victory. And while all of those things are great, like I just it's not everything. It's not what defines us as people at all. And so I know it's very easy for people to be broken, like because it's so easy to put thousands of pounds of pressure and stress and anxiety on yourself because of a game, and because like all of us know that we're good and we can perform, and so when we don't, it's a big stressor on our lives. And it's hard, it's honestly it's hard to separate the failures sometimes. Like when I leave from a tough game and I go home, like I struggle sometimes to not let it bother me for the entire rest of the night and into the next morning. Like it's hard sometimes to separate the two. um, but the better that we can get at that, and the I've been trying to get better at it too, of hey, if it's a tough day, like leave it at the field, leave it at the field, try again
Yeah.
tomorrow. And I feel like that's one thing. I had a teammate last year, Izzy Pacho, her one of my best friends, and will be one of my best friends for the rest of my life. Like we got to that point too of leaving and being like, we'll try again tomorrow. Like if it was a tough day, like we kind of looked at each other, we were like, we get another chance to do it again. And so it's just becoming a 22-year-old that has been doing this for a while now, and especially playing at the highest level for the last 3 to 4 years. It's I feel like you get a unique perspective on the things that like truly matter, and getting to I'm fortunate that I have a couple buddies who played here at the U of A that have since graduated, and I reach out to them now and they're like, I wish I would have just enjoyed the game, because it was everything to me at that time, and I struggled so hard and I didn't enjoy it because the pressure that was put on me, and from myself and from the fans and from everyone. And then they're like, I wish I just would have liked it and had fun, because I only got to do it for so long and now I'm done and now I don't know what I'm doing. And so it's keeping that unique perspective of enjoy it. Like we don't get to do this for very long. So go do what you want to do and go enjoy the game. Like enjoy the little moments that you get to make with your teammates, because we really don't get to do this for very long. And before you know it, the next class of kids is going to come in, and no one's going to be worrying about how you did the year before, because they have to
Right.
worry about what they're doing now. So it's like the pressure that we put on is just it's so like it shouldn't be as high as it is, but it's difficult not to put the pressure on.
Yeah. You want to be successful. You're trying to represent, yourself, your family, your program in the best light. So there is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
pressure, but I agree. It's all about perspective. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, it's kind of like this. If you look at it like, oh my God, I got to get up and work out. Like I hate working out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would just twist that and go, I'm so excited I get to work out today. Like I'm
Yeah.
physically healthy and, I can go out there. I've got access to a weight room and I get to go work out. Like I think
Yep.
that's a great way. Is that how you try to, is that one of the mechanisms or one of the ways you try to cope with it when you feeling it?
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that because that's one thing. Like my dad and I say that to each other all the time, and like it's become like almost a joke now how much we say it, but we still mean it like fully, like truthfully. Anytime that anyone around me says like, "Oh, I have to go do this today," I always say like, "No, you get to," no matter what
Yep.
it is. Like, "Oh, I have to go take a test." No, you get to go take a test today. Like I know it's unfortunate, but at least you get to. Like not everyone has the
Yeah.
opportunity that you do. I have to go hit tonight with my brother. Like, no, you get to go hit with your brother tonight. Not like that. Not everyone is given the opportunities to do these things. So, anytime, like, all right, that's like you said, or I have to go work out this morning. No, you get to. Like, you are healthy and you get to go do something that someone else in the world probably wishes they could go do right now instead of worrying about something else. So,
Yeah.
I love the have to get to. Anytime that I hear anyone say I have to do this, I'm always like, you don't have to do anything. No one's forcing you. Like you literally don't have to do anything. You could sit there all day if you want to and do nothing, but you get to go if you make the decision to.
Right. No, I love that. Um, what's your favorite sports memory?
Oh
Your
man.
best sports memory, whether it's you playing or just a memory in general. You have one?
Oh gosh. I have a lot. Um,
Or one of your best.
one of
Doesn't have to
them,
be the best.
okay, I could probably give you a couple. One of them that comes to the top of my head was last year when I was named the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. I remember we were at practice and we were about to take our reps at in the infield, and all of a sudden Danny Martinez, who's our PA announcer, and his voice is like so distinct, like he calls all of our games. It's great. He calls our lineups out and stuff. Like we love this guy. And usually we don't have anyone come over the PA in the middle of practice. And so I remember he came on and he was like, "Attention, like whatever, Wildcats." And he said, "We
Yeah.
have an announcement we'd like to make. We'd like to give a congratulations to our Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year." And then he said my name, and I had no clue this was going to happen. And he said my name, and all of my teammates immediately just like left their positions and sprinted over and like gave me a hug, and like on the field, like just feeling the appreciation from my teammates for me and like what I did. It was the coolest thing, like just getting recognized and like getting rewarded for something like that. Like it always feels so good, and it feels so good to have the support of all of those people that it felt so genuine. Like they all were genuinely
Yeah.
so excited about it. And like the rest of the practice, I was just like beaming. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I did go
I
on to make
bet.
like 10 errors within our ground ball session, of course, which
Of
is
course. Of
bound to
course.
happen after you get named that.
Yeah.
But
Get them out of the
um,
way.
yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, I'll be fine. Um, the other one is similar situation. When I got named an All-American my sophomore year, we were on our bus at the World Series,
Yeah.
and Kate stood up and said that did the same thing, like made an announcement. And right after she said it, like the teammates, like they went crazy, like they loved it. And I think just those moments of one being recognized for the hard work that you've been put in, but at the same time getting to celebrate it with the people who have seen it all is the coolest thing ever. Like they get to see me day in and day out take ground balls and hit and like see the process of it. They've seen me fail, they've seen me succeed, they've seen it all. And so I think like getting recognized for the body of work is the coolest thing ever. And um, I think my last one that I can think of right now that I absolutely love was my sophomore year in high school. It was with Josh Bloomer. We played at rival high school, so he coached my rival, like my biggest rival ever, and he always beat me in the regional tournament that we played at the U of L stadium. Like I could never beat him, and so he'd beat us, and their team would get to go to state, whatever. And my sophomore year, I remember like we were joking around or whatever, and I think I told him I was like struggling with my swing or whatever, and we he talked me through it, which you always can do, and like it always makes you feel better. And the first inning that I got to hit off of them, he pitched to me and I hit a bomb to left, and our team ended up going on to win the game. And then after the game, he said, "Looks like you figured it out. Like happy for you." And so
Yeah.
I remember I was so excited, like just to beat him one time. I was like, "This is the greatest thing ever," because I had never beat him before, even in the regular
Yeah.
season. And I was like, "We can't beat him." And so I finally got to, and that was one of my favorite memories and I think he walked me the rest of the game, but
Of course.
getting to stick it to him one time, I was like, yes, let's go. Needed it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, any is there anything, any message that you'd like to get out there before we wrap it up? Like, is there something you'd like to say to the group?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is kind of what we just touched on. It's like a little bit of the taking care of yourself, especially as student athletes. Like it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to take a break, honestly. Like I feel like I wish that was more encouraged because I feel like that's when you push kids to burnout is when you're forcing them. It's like we were talking about earlier, like my parents never forced me to do anything, which I think is a big reason why I continue to love the game. Like I was never forced into doing anything. And at any point they told me, hey, if you're done, you're done. Like step away if you're done. And I never got to the point where I was like, no, I'm done. But if I needed a break, I took a break. And if there was a day or a week that I didn't want to touch a softball, I didn't touch a softball. And that can go for any sport in general. I think like anytime a student athlete can take a break or if they need one or if they need to get help and they need to go talk to someone, like that's fine. Like like it's okay to go receive help from people because I always say it's the same thing as when you break your arm or when you have shin splints or when you have something, like you go get it worked on with either your trainer or your doctor or whatever. And so it should be the same for your head. Like if you're struggling with anything in your brain or if you're struggling like with performance anxiety or if you're struggling with depression, like anything like that that is attached to your sport, not attached to your sport, it can be attached to your family, school, anything like that. Like it's okay to go look for help because that's the only way that we're going to be able to keep ourselves safe and healthy is talking about it. So I encourage kids, like if you're struggling, like, it's okay. Like speak about it. It's okay to do that because I guarantee you other people are going through it too. And I promise you, if a 22-year-old All-American that has been playing at the University of Arizona is dealing with it, like it's okay that you are too. And there's so many more of us out there than you think. Like you're not an anomaly when it comes to struggling because of a sport. Like it's okay. It happens to all of us. And so the more that I feel like we can make it normal and continue to talk about it because it's nothing to be ashamed about. Sports are tough. Like it's easy to put pressure on yourself and it's easy to struggle and it's easy to, when you fail hard and it's easy when you succeed that everything feels great. But we play in a game that does something like this to us all the time. And the more that we can try and stay steady and try and keep ourselves just kind of in like good headspace, like keep everything in perspective and then the better off we're going to be.
Yeah, I think when we see you, or when other your fans, the players that look up to you see you on the field, they see you as such a confident
Mm-hmm.
figure out there on the field, confident athlete, and of course your skill set speaks for itself because you play the level you play. But they don't realize that you're just another person
Mm-hmm.
with feelings and you have a bad day, and so I think that's huge because I, I think we all got to get better at trying to recognize that. I got to be better at recognizing that as a coach, and I appreciate you saying that. I think
Yeah.
that's big.
Well, I think like
Um,
one more like big thing, especially that student athlete or not even just student athletes, but athletes can do that is huge that I recommend is connecting with the younger athletes that come and look up to you. I cannot stress that enough. Like,
oh, that's
especially
awesome.
being the athlete that I am right now, after every single game, like I promise if any of you guys listening come to a U of A softball game and you want something signed or you want a picture or you want to get like a hug after the game, like I will be there. I take the time for the people that are looking up to you because that means so much more than you think. Like if there's a 10-year-old girl that looks up to you and says like they think you hang the moon, which is amazing. Like it's the
Yeah,
coolest thing ever. But we were also that 10-year-old at one point. And I think if you at 10 years old had a 22-year-old that told you, hey, you're going to be out on this field one day, I guarantee you are going to go the rest of your life believing that and you're going to make it happen. So
yeah,
I recommend to anyone, like if anyone pays attention or takes anything from this, like take the time for the people that are wanting to see you and talk to you because like that's going to make their day. It's going to make you better. It's going to keep you humble and it's going to remind you that these are the kids that are coming up after you. Like at some point, these 10-year-old girls are going to be playing on the field that I'm on right now. Like I need to make sure that they understand like the legacy that needs to be left for them so that when they become the 22-year-old, like they're staying after the game and talking to the next 10-year-old. It's just like
Yeah.
it's taking the time for the kids, because if you keep it real with them, if you have conversations of like, man, that sucked, but tomorrow will be fine. Then like even those little like nuggets of information, like they're gonna understand, oh, she's just a kid. Like she's just a kid too. Great. Okay. Like I always tell them that. I'm like, I feel like I'm 14. Like I feel like I'm out there.
Yeah.
I'm just a kid too. Like I'm no different than you. I understand that you're 12, but I was 12 too at one point, and now I'm here. I swear I'm normal. Like we're just people
Yeah.
who happen to play a sport really well.
It's funny. I'm going to be 51 this year, and I feel like I'm 18 years old. So
Yeah.
it's funny to
Yeah.
hear you say that.
Mhm.
And you doing that and taking the time to do a picture or
Mhm.
give a hug, you're giving back to the game in
Yeah.
so much more. It's so much more than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you're you're setting an example, and
Mhm.
you're a role model for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of the coolest things about seeing that, even with my own kids, seeing them go through it. And you're compassionate, you're confident, you're strong, and you're going to handle life so much better
Yep.
for going through all of this.
Yep.
So
I agree. It
yeah,
keeps it all in
I
perspective.
oh my gosh, yeah, and enjoy it. I really hope that you're enjoying it,
Yeah.
because it looks like one heck of a ride,
Mhm.
and I don't know, how the season's going to end. Obviously, nobody does, but I really hope to see you guys back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be following your journey. I really appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, of course. Thank
Um,
you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So I want to go ahead and just thank everyone who's listening. We're going to continue to work really hard to elevate the sport, and get caught up with those who are influential in the softball community. Hopefully, we can help you with your journey in some small way. If you like this content, please give us a like and a follow on our YouTube channel, at Caught Up with Randy K at Coach KAZ. You can also follow us on X at Coach KAZ, and on IG at Coach KAZ as well. Allie, once again, I really appreciate you. Please say hi to your mom and dad for me,
Will do.
and your brother. I
Yes.
know we didn't get the chance to talk to him, but I'm sure he's hopefully going to catch this, and I know he's a big fan, and hopefully he's doing well as
Oh yeah.
as as well. Okay,
All right. Thank you.
awesome.